As we get closer to the end, the truth will become more and more precious, and the people that hold it will have a great responsibility, because the world will reject what they have to say, persecute, hunt them down, and kill them. These truths are hard, and it takes a certain kind of person led by God to bring these truths to the surface. So choose you this day whom ye will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Welcome. So this is a little intro I'm making after the fact, because after I made this video I realized I never told you about the lotus flower, which is how I came to know who this was. Because once I realized it was a lotus, I thought of the Lady of the United States, who, when Joe Biden gets out of power, because he's not going to finish his term, would be Kamala Harris. Okay, so as I was doing a study with the Lord, and he was walking me through a bunch of information on these goddesses and the whore of Babylon, this statue got put up at the end of it, and I realized that this is who this is. This is Kamala, the whore of Babylon, and Artemis, the lotus, the Lady of the United States. This has nothing to do with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It has everything to do with Easter goddess worship. And I am going to show you so many mind-blowing things that you're not going to want to miss 1 minute of this video. So please share it around, because I'm going to uncover some amazing things. We're even going to dissect what Kamala Harris's name means, and when you see this, you'll be beside yourself. So stay tuned, because you're in for a ride. God is awesome. And all the glory of this and all my videos always goes to God, the Father in heaven, for he is the one that leads me to this. Without him, I am nothing. Hey guys. So have I got a video for you today. I'm sure you've heard about this statue that went up, and this is just going to be a small portion of my video. My video is going to be more about what's manifesting here. We all know this is a demonic statue, and I'm going to show you exactly who and what this is and who it represents in the physical world today. It has nothing to do with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It has everything to do with a demonic goddess who has since had a identity facelift, I'll call it. And by the time I'm done with this video, your mind will be blown. Because I know mine sure was. The Holy Spirit has led me on an amazing journey that ended when this statue was put up. The timing couldn't have been any more perfect. I have been studying and investigating and following this trail, and the stuff I find is absolutely breathtaking. So, I will do my best to put all this stuff in a comprehensible order, because there is a lot that I have discovered and a lot I want to show you. Because I know who this statue represents in the spiritual sense, and I know who it represents today, who is very much alive and about to come into power. So, stay tuned, share this video, And please watch to the end, because you're not going to want to miss any of this. I haven't done a video like this probably since the Matrix video, so it's going to be a good one. Let's get started. I got a lot to get through. I'm going to repeat some things that I've talked about before, not in depth or at length, but just for new viewers who maybe have not been following my videos and learning all the things that we've been talking about. So I will have to touch base on them so that the things I say in this video make sense to people who have maybe never watched any of my videos. So the first thing I want to touch base on is the Ouroboros, which many of you know is the serpent eating its tail. It's also what the Milky Way represents. The serpent eating its tail, as you can see here, it's the eternal cyclic renewal, or a cycle of life, death, and rebirth. This is Satan's version of being born again. Living, dying, and being reborn. Everything in our realm here on earth comes around. That's why the Bible says there is nothing new under the sun. Here in Ecclesiastes 1:9 and on we see, "The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after." Okay, so this is why Satan uses the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail. It's cyclical. It just comes around and around again. There's nothing new, just different names, different faces. This is a time loop that we're in. This is Satan's prison. I have touched base on the tesseract before, the cube within the cube, the time-space prison. Okay, we are locked in here with Satan. This is why we have the Ouroboros in this realm. So the Ouroboros just represents an infinite loop. The beginning and the end. The beginning and the end. Over and over and over again. This is very popular in the occult world. Another thing I have talked about a lot is 88. Okay, the time-space prison. This is why in Back to the Future, they had to go 88 miles an hour to get outside of the time-space prison to travel through time. 88. Okay, this is why this is, because it's an endless loop. And if we go and look up the analemma, this is where we get the 88 from. So you can see here on the right in this picture that the sun, if photographed in the same direction from the same point every day, it will make a figure 8 pattern. The moon also does this. This is the analemma. As you can see here on this globe, it's showing you the pattern of the sun. The sun and the moon both do this, forming an 8 and an 8. This is the time-space prison, 88. We are caught in the loop, the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail. I'm going to show you some pictures from photographers. Here are a bunch of sets of pictures from many different photographers photographing the analemma. The ones that are dotted like this are only probably a month worth of days throughout the year, but if you took them every single day, this is what it would look like, an 8. So it would make an 8 and an 8 with the sun and the moon, 88. Infinite loop, the Ouroboros, around and around and around. I know I'm being repetitive, but it will make sense when I get into the other stuff I got to talk about. So, I was wanting to show you guys what the analemma was because I mentioned it a lot. So it was on my mind. And I started seeing the number 19 everywhere. Now, I'm not into numerology. The Bible speaks against numerology, and I would never take part in it. However, when you do see the same number appearing everywhere, and I mean everywhere, I'm going to give you guys a little taste of what I was dealing with. But this is God trying to show you something. He's trying to point something out to you. So if you keep seeing a reoccurring number over and over and over and over, then you might want to pay attention because God's talking to you. So to avoid being flagged, I'm just going to call this the twins. Okay? We can call this Artemis and Apollo. When the twins came down, okay, this represented the time-space prison. Okay, they each have 8 sides. If you see here on the corners, they're not a corner, but a side. Very small side, but they each have 8. So you have 88, okay? And when they were taken down, there was one put up in its place. The One World Trade, which also has 8 sides. Except now there's only one. And if we go to see how tall this tower is, it is 1776. Now I'm not going to get into it in this video, but 1776 is a demonic spell. This is not a year. This is all spell work. This is high witchcraft. But I need to show you guys this because this is the journey that I went on, or how the Lord was speaking to me. And it will all make sense in a minute. So, 1776 divided by 2, because there was 2 of them, is 888. So 888 plus 888 is 1776. Out with the old, in with the new. This is Satan trying to break out of the time-space prison. If you're curious about the date Satan wanted to break out of the prison, understand that Revelation 9:11 says this, "And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon." This is why it happened on that day, because it's all about him breaking free, coming up from below to rule and to reign. If you put 911 backwards, you have 119. Okay? 19. This is not a coincidence. But wait, there's so much more. Alright, so he's broken out of time. So now there's just space. This is why Satan is about to come to power through the Antichrist. This is why COVID-19 happened in 2020. Because when these came down, it was in 2001. When COVID came, it was in 2020. Now, I know some people will say, no, it was in 2019. Well, let me just tell you that it's not even real. So the reason they called it COVID-19 and had it come out at the very end of 19 is because it had been 19 years. It has nothing to do with the year 2019. It has everything to do with the number 19. This is the number I've been seeing. And why is that important? Because 19 years is a metonic cycle. A metonic cycle is a period of almost exactly 19 years which the lunar phases reoccur at the same time of the year. So this is a lunar cycle. So every 19 years, the moon phases are exactly the same as they were 19 years before that. This is how they calculate Easter. As you can see right here, a 19-year cycle is used for the computation of the day of Easter each year, which we're going to get into. This is where this led me. But before we get there, let me show you this. The reoccurrence is not perfect, so it's not exactly 19 years. It's just 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 58 seconds longer than 19 tropical years. Please excuse the heater if you can hear it. There's no way I can make a whole video and pause it every time the heat comes on. But let me show you this. If we take the 2 hours and add it to the 4 minutes, and then add the 58 seconds, it equals 19. 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 8 is 19. This is exactly what I was talking about. This number 19 is everywhere. This is God talking to me. The cycle is a whole number of days, 6,940. 6 plus 9 plus 4 is 19. Okay? So now we have all these things. The days, if you add them up, equal 19. The time difference, if you add them up, equals 19. If we go down here and look at the Babylonian and the Hebrew lunisolar calendars, it gives you the number of years that are 13 months. 13. All right, here we have 19, and here we have 19. And then we have 2020. Okay? COVID-19, 19 in 2020. This might not be making sense to you right yet, but it will. I'm just laying the groundwork, okay? Because what's really important is what all this is leading me to. So the Babylonians applied a 19-year cycle from the late 6th century BC. This is how they calculate Easter. Apollo is said to have visited the Hyperboreans once every 19 years. Okay? Apollo. Every 19 years, Apollo comes back. So what does Apollo do? Apollo is the bringer of the sickness and the cure. His twin sister, which is just the female Apollo, think of it like two wings on a bird, or two sides of the same coin, like Satan and Lucifer, one dark, one light. This is why Freemasons use black and white symbolism. Okay, it's duality. Apollo and Artemis are the same entity, but they do different things and they're worshipped differently. So every 19 years, Apollo visits the Hyperboreans. So if we think of this in terms of 2001, Artemis, his twin sister, she's the goddess of the hunt, destruction. And then 19 years after this destruction comes the sickness. And then once the sickness is here, you need a cure, right? Well, we all know that the cure is worse than the sickness. The 19-year Metonic cycle is a lunar solar cycle, as is the 76 Callipic cycle. So I've made a little notepad here to show you. All right. 1776 is a spell. All right. This is time. This is space. 888 plus 888. All right. Equaling 1776. 17 is for Q. 76 is the lunar solar cycle that it shares with 19. So if you add 1776 plus 19 and you do that 13 times, you get 2023. That's this year. All right, this is the Metonic cycle. This is where the spell is coming into place. Apollo is going to be released soon, but before he's released, Artemis is coming on the scene. What's the significance of 2023? Well, if you remove the 0, then you get 223. If you turn that backwards, like in the mirror, like the demonic realm, you get 322. 3 times 22 is 66. That's the number for Apollo. 322 is also the number for the Skull and Bones Society, the Brotherhood of Death. This is a secret society in bed with the Freemasons. 322 or 223. All right? And we all know that the 2 towers came down on 9-1 to the 1. Well, look at this. This year, Skull and Bones, in the year of 2023, is 191 years old. 9, 1, and a 1. Okay, this is spell work. This is not a coincidence. This is all happening for a reason. This is all pre-planned and it's coming to fruition. Things are happening in the spiritual realm and they're starting to manifest in the physical realm. Everything happens first in the spiritual realm. Then it manifests into the physical. God is warning us about what's to come. And you need to stay tuned because I am going to show you everything. I'm just walking you up to how I got here so that you can see all this information and understand how God is warning us and what is going to come. If you take 13 and multiply it by 19, you get 247. 24/7. The loop, okay? The Metonic cycle, 24/7, around the clock, over and over and over. This is the Ouroboros, 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 this is the Ouroboros. This is all about nothing new under the sun. This is pre-planned. These things are coming around again. Okay? Same kind of event, different players, different circumstances, same spirits, same effect. just interpreted differently, because as I read you in Ecclesiastes, that no thing is remembered from one age to the other. We need the Holy Spirit to see this stuff coming, because it's different but the same. Alright? So, while I was trying to figure out what this 19 I was seeing everywhere, on my way to work one day I saw this sign, and whenever you see a sign with a Freemason sign, you can associate it with the Freemasons. However, I didn't recognize this sign. So I took a picture of it, and I sent it to my friend Franz, who you all know from our Wednesday night videos. And he didn't recognize it either. But he did get back to me later that day after investigating it for a bit, and he had found out what it is. And before I show you that, I want to read you this. This is about when Jesus cast the demons out into the pigs. Alright? He said, "For he said unto them, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many." Okay, so the demon said that his name is Legion, because they are many. Well, when Franz told me what he found here, after I had been seeing 19 everywhere, it turns out that this sign is the American Legion, for they are many, and it was formed on March 15th in 1919. You guys, I can't make this stuff up, okay? This is the journey I was going on with the Lord. This number 19 was leading me everywhere. I mean everywhere. So because I understood that it was the Metonic cycle, it led me to Easter, because the 19-year cycle is used for the computation of Easter. Well, Easter is a pagan holiday disguised as a Christian holiday to mislead God's people. If you don't know this, then I feel bad for you, because this one's obvious. Alright, number 1, not in the Bible. Number 2, what does dyeing eggs have to do with Jesus? Number 3, what does 40 days of fasting and prayer and Lent have to do with Jesus? Absolutely nothing. But you know what it does have something to do with? The weeping for Tammuz. Who is Tammuz? Tammuz is the fake Jesus. This is what the 40 days is about. I'm going to show you real quick, because this is where we start to uncover what is happening in this realm and why we have this statue that represents abortion being put on the New York City courthouse. Lent is called Quadrasima. Hope I pronounced that right. In Latin, and La Quaresma in Spanish, and begins on Ash Wednesday. The terms are a reference to the number 40, the number of days until Good Friday. Now, there's a lot of reasons that Christian and devout Catholics may explain why this is so. They will say that the Bible refers to the number 40 throughout the Bible. All of the biblical references to the number 40 are all true. However, none of them refer to Lent or anything having to do with the pagan holiday, except perhaps that they are talking about Ezekiel 8:14. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Why do I bring this up? There's no mention or reference to 40 in the entire verse, you may observe. However, Tammuz is associated with a pagan rite that, you guessed it, lasts 40 days. Nowhere in the Bible is there any reference for the observance of Lent. Yes, the Bible does have many instances of the number 40, but nowhere explaining, promoting, or commanding the observance of a 40-day festival. Now let's look at this individual, or deity if you prefer, of Ezekiel 8:14. Tammuz was worshipped as a pagan deity by the festival that was celebrated with weeping and fasting for 40 days. That is where the Catholic tradition of Lent really came from. Tammuz was the son of Nimrod and Semiramis. Tammuz was worshipped as the reincarnation of his father, especially since Shem came and killed Nimrod. Shem then proceeded to hack Nimrod into pieces, which he then scattered. This is probably the origin of the story in Egyptian mythology of Isis gathering the pieces of her dead husband, Osiris. After Seth, Shem hacked him into pieces. This allowed Isis to resurrect her husband long enough to conceive their son Horus. Thus you can say that Horus is another version of Tammuz. Tammuz was probably coerced into marrying his mother in order to keep up the charade of him being a reincarnation of his father Nimrod, who miraculously became the sun and impregnated his wife with his rays so that he could be reborn once again, this time as Tammuz. Eventually, Semiramis had her son turned husband killed in a boar hunt. When the news of Tammuz's accidental death had reached everyone in Babylon, she ordered 40 days of fasting and weeping. In fact, this is the beginning of all pagan mythology involving the mother and child motif that has continued to replicate itself throughout every pagan religion throughout history, culminating with the Queen of Heaven, worshipped by Catholics today, that lives on in Christianity through false doctrine of the Trinity. The Queen of Heaven. Okay, this is what Mary is worshipped as in the Catholic religion. Mary is considered the Queen of Heaven. But believe me when I tell you, heaven has no queen, only a king and the Father. Easter is about Tammuz and Semiramis, and I'm going to show you more on this. But first I want to make sure that you understand that Easter is a pagan holiday, and that every Easter in the area where this was all taking place, every Easter, Semiramis's priests would rape the girls in a cave and impregnate them. And then on Christmas, they would have their babies, or around Christmas time. And then on Easter, when they were 3 months old, they would be sacrificed. And they would dye the eggs in the blood of the sacrificed infants. This is why the pagans dye eggs on Easter. Now, if you don't believe this, you can go research this for yourself. I'm not going to get into it. I just don't want you celebrating Easter. And now that you've heard me say this, it's on you to not do it. Alright, because Easter is a pagan holiday and no Christian has any business celebrating Easter. And God is watching and judging. For we are at the end times, and it is time to depart from the ways of the pagan. Another name for this goddess Semiramis is Isis, who we were just talking about, because this is the same myth that we just heard for Tammuz. Isis's husband Osiris is killed by his brother Set. And then she finds the pieces of his body and claims that he is resurrected through her son, Horus. Now I'm going to leave links in the description of my videos. If you want to know all about Horus and how the United States was formed and how all these spells work, then watch my video on the Dark Truth of America, and you will see all of this stuff. But I'm not going to get into it because that's not what this video is about. This video is about showing you what's about to happen. Okay? The whore of Babylon is Isis, is Semiramis, Inanna, Aphrodite, Diana, Artemis, and she's about to come on the scene because she is manifesting into the physical right now and about to take power and destroy this country. And I'm going to show you. So please stay tuned. I know I'm taking a little bit to get there, but I want to give you all the information so that you know that I'm not just saying this, that I'm not just whimming this out of my mind, okay? I've been following God's instruction, listening to the small, still voice of the Holy Spirit, and I went everywhere that it led me. And I will prove everything that I'm going to say. So Isis is Semiramis, okay, who is also Inanna. See here? The Queen of Heaven. Her husband was the god later known as Tammuz, the Queen of Heaven. These are all the same goddesses, you guys. She goes by many names. Astarte, Aphrodite. Just depends on what area of the world is worshiping these gods and goddesses, as they call them. Okay, because Apollo also has many names. But we're talking about his twin, the female Apollo, who is Artemis, also known as Aphrodite. See here, it says that she was known as Ishtar, Inanna, Astarte. Okay, they're all the same goddess, you guys. Eostre. This is where they say they got the name of Easter. She is the namesake of the festival of Easter. You see, this has nothing to do with Jesus, you guys. Absolutely nothing. Also known as Diana. Do you remember Princess Diana? Diana. Princess Di, right? She was immortalized in 1997. Why do I compare this Diana with this Diana, the goddess of the hunt? That's easy. Because of Wonder Woman. They're always telling us the truth in movies. We just take it as entertainment. But it's hidden truth. If you want to know about this topic, then watch my video, Predictive Programming or Satan Bound for 1,000 Years. And it will tell you all about this. So, as you can see here, in Wonder Woman, the Amazonian Princess Diana. Princess Diana. And if that's not enough, in the actual movie, her name is Diana Prince. Okay? This is Princess Diana. This is demon worship. Okay, they want us to worship demons. Now we get into Artemis. Okay, this is where I've been trying to get to. But I wanted to show you guys that no matter which goddess it is, they're all the same. These goddesses that I have shown you, they're all the same. Alright, they're all the goddess of the moon. And this is the goddess of nature, okay? Like, as in Mother Nature, okay? Just like they just destroyed God's 10 commandments, right? And rewrote the commandments for Mother Nature. right? About global warming and how to save the earth. They've destroyed God's law and replaced it with the law of Artemis. All right, she's the goddess of nature, childbirth, the moon, and sudden death. Thus, Artemis becomes identical with the great mother of nature. You want more proof besides the Mother Nature that she's manifesting? She's also the goddess of the hunt and sudden death. Now remember, she's the twin sister of Apollo, who's bringing the sickness and the cure. All right? So, the sickness going around, right? Vidco 19. And the cure for that, the jibby jab, these are being brought by Apollo on the 19-year Metonic cycle. Okay? The sickness and the cure. And what are they doing? They are destroying life because Apollo's other nature is the hunt and sudden death. So let's just go look at Apollo real quick. And you can see that medicine and healing are associated with Apollo. Apollo also delivered people from epidemics like pandemics. Pan is another name for Lucifer. Apollo delivers them from epidemics. Yet he is also a god who could bring ill health and deadly plague with his arrows. So not only does he bring health, but also the death. And his twin sister, or the other side of his coin, Artemis, is the goddess of the hunt and sudden death. And they both have these arrows. So, as I was going to say here, I will show you more proof that she is manifesting the goddess of sudden death. I just did a search for sudden death. 6 hours ago, sudden cardiac arrest, rare in older adult sports person. 3 days ago, football injury leads to Air Force Academy cadet's sudden death. 1 week ago, the sudden death of America's strongest woman. 1 week ago, Stephanie Seymour gives the first interview since son's sudden death 2 years ago. 2 days ago, smoking hikes, risk of coronary heart disease, sudden death. 5 days ago, siblings mourned sudden death of sitcom legend So Many Sweet Memories. 6 hours ago, Daniel O'Donnell in complete shock after sister Kathleen's sudden death. 1 week ago, harsh and sudden death. 2 weeks ago, feeling numb after the sudden death. 3 days ago, Gianfranco Lancey's sudden death. 1 week ago, Virginia lawmaker Jimmy Massel's sudden death. Sudden death, sudden death, sudden death, sudden death, sudden death. This is Artemis, the goddess of sudden death, making her way on the scene. The statue that has just been put up is Artemis. She is also the goddess of abortion. Let me show you. In this article, Abortion and Pagan Spirituality, it's quite disturbing, but let me read you a few paragraphs. The Sacrament of Abortion, written by Jeanette Paris, proposes paganism, i.e. polytheism, witchcraft, earth worship. Okay, this is all stuff connected to Artemis, which I'll show you in another minute, as a superior model for a society struggling with abortion issues. In addition to providing an ecological relief valve for the misrepresentation of human population as the roots of all evil, Paris adopts the Jungian models of mythology as universal archetypes for evolving human consciousness. a common dogma among neo-pagans. Jung was a spiritualist who was fascinated with the occult. His ideas provided a multi-dimensional bridge between pagan mythology, psychology, and atheistic existentialism, the outcome being the emergence of a universalist atheistic religion. Having rejected the gospel message of the Bible, boy I guess, Paris reduces Christianity to a common mythology, wherein the buyer can pick and choose according to the whims of the individual. But she doesn't care to leave it at that, but campaigns for its demise tooth and nail, also typical of paganism. How does this work alongside an obligation to accept everybody's deity? Once the godly influence of the Bible has been thrown out, then the selection for variable models becomes an act of moral relativism, subject to carnal proclivities and postmodernist fads such as the destructive anti-human doctrine of biocentrism. How does the story of Artemis vindicate the taking of innocent human lives? According to Paris, Artemis slays her prey out of love. If women are to identify with her, they must love the children that are offered to her in death. That love is supposed to provide a balancing influence to this bloody romp that mimics the huntress in competitive pursuit of her prey. So you can see here that Artemis is clearly tied to child sacrifice and abortion, which to me is the same exact thing. You have seen Artemis in movies. However, she was called the Enchantress in the Suicide Squad, and you might recognize her with this little moon on her head, which is the same symbol for the Windows operating system, which you can see right here that I have just flipped upside down. Here's the head, here's the moon. This stuff is hidden everywhere, okay, because Artemis makes way for Apollo. Apollo is the Antichrist, the king of the bottomless pit, who is going to come out in Revelation 9:1:1. You getting it? So, let's have one more look at this statue before we keep moving on. Here's the New York Times. Move over Moses and Zoroaster. Manhattan has a new female lawgiver. Move over Moses. If you can't recognize this as a satanic agenda manifesting in the physical realm, then you need to start praying. She's also known as Hecate, the moon goddess. Necromancy. This is who she used to be known as before she got her facelift to be Diana and Artemis. The goddess of boundaries and crossroads. You know, where people go to sell their soul at the crossroads. The goddess of witchcraft, like Wicca and witches and white witches and dark witches and the moon and necromancy and ghosts. And oh, look at this statue. Doesn't that look like something we've seen before? Looks like the Statue of Liberty to me. If we scroll down, we can read this. Another Greek word suggested as the origin of the name Hecate or Hekatos, an obscure epithet of Apollo, interpreted as the far-reaching one or far darter, because they shoot arrows. This has been suggested in comparison with the attributes of the goddess Artemis, strongly associated with Apollo and frequently equated with Hecate in the classical world. Supporters of this etymology suggest that Hecate was originally considered an aspect of Artemis's prior to the latter's adoption of the Olympian pantheon. Artemis would have at that point become more more strongly associated with purity and maidenhood on one hand, while her original darker attributes, like her association with magic, the souls of the dead, and the night, would have continued to be worshipped separately under her title Hecate. So this is just more of the same. These goddesses changed throughout time. These gods and goddesses, their words, not mine. They change throughout time and throughout cultures, but it's the same spirit. Artemis and Apollo are the same spirit. There are no male and female spirits. They're not like humans. Humans try to make them like us, which is why they take on a sex when they have none. This is why Apollo and Artemis are so alike. This is why I call the Statue of Liberty Lucifer, but it's also Apollo. It's also Artemis. All right? One more thing I want to show you, because we know that Artemis is the queen of heaven, right, as Mary. So let me just give you a little more proof. Her symbol is keys. Serpents and keys. What keys? The keys of heaven. Just like the Catholics use these keys. The keys of heaven. Because she's considered the queen of heaven. I'm telling you guys, Catholics are Luciferians. At the top they know, at the bottom they're deceived. The congregation may think they're worshiping Jesus and God, but they couldn't be further from the truth. They're worshiping Lucifer. It's Luciferianism. So now I'm going to show you who this statue represents and why it's here. Okay? As I told you, Artemis is here to bring in Apollo. Alright? Just like in Revelation. She's the whore of Babylon, and Apollo is the beast. Okay? The whore rides on back of the beast. Understand that Satan doesn't need people to believe in him. All he needs people to do is not believe in Jesus. That's it. He doesn't care if you worship him or any of these other gods or goddesses or Mother Nature or the stars or the universe. He doesn't even care if you worship no one. He don't care if you think that you're a deity. All he wants you to do is do as thou wilt. Because as long as you want to do what you want to do, then you're not doing what Jesus wants you to do. You're not believing in Jesus. And if you're not believing in Jesus, the one way to the Father, then that means that you are succumbing to the one of the millions of ways to the pit. And as long as you're headed to the pit, Satan does not care how you get there. He isn't looking for us to worship him. He's looking to destroy us. And there's only one way that he can destroy us, and that's to keep us from Jesus. That is why 9 to the 1 to the 1 happened. So, who is Artemis? Artemis is the whore of Babylon. The whore of Babylon makes way for the beast. Alright, they're two sides of the same coin. So on one side, the side that's up or about to be up right now is the whore of Babylon. And she's going to rule and destroy. And then they're going to flip that coin over to the beast. And then the beast is going to come up and rule. And the woman will be destroyed. Revelation 17 says this. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And as you know, this is the Statue of Liberty, this is New York City, and it's also Kamala Harris. with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth had been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away into the spirit of the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. This is Kamala Harris. This is Artemis making way. So Kamala Harris is Artemis and Barack Obama is Apollo. And they're being manifested as we speak. We can see their spirits across the face of the earth with what's happening. Apollo is bringing the sickness and the quote-unquote cure, which is no cure at all. It's just another sickness, a deception. And his twin, Artemis, is bringing sudden death and the hunt. Okay? Christians are about to be persecuted. The hunt is about to begin. The woman sits on the beast. The waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So I've shown you that the Statue of Liberty sits on this water where everyone comes and migrates into the United States. This is where everyone came in, through New York. New York was the migration station. This is full of multitudes and nations and tongues. This is the whore of Babylon. Babylon is America. The whore of Babylon is New York City. The Statue of Liberty represents the whore of Babylon, who sits on many waters. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So the 10 horns are 10 kings that haven't got a kingdom yet. But when Kamala's running the show, when Kamala becomes president, because Joe Biden is going to be out and she's coming in, okay? Joe Biden's not going to finish his term. If we look here, this is about presidents, okay, of the United States. There are 7 kings. 5 of them are fallen, and 1 is, okay? When this prophecy was given, Trump was president, and the other is yet to come. That's Biden. And when he comes, he must only continue a short space, all right? That means he's not going to finish his term. And if you're watching what's going on, then you'll know this to be true. And the beast that was president and is not president, even he is going to be the 8th, but is of the 7, okay? So this is telling you that one of these 7 presidents is going to be, if you want to know more about that, watch my video on the Antichrist. And it goes, I walk you through this in depth. All right, but back down to the whore. So, the 10 horns, those are kings without a kingdom. They're going to hate the whore. They'll hate Kamala. They don't want her to lead because they are here to serve Satan. They're waiting for the Antichrist. They want to serve him. Okay? And they shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So not only is Kamala going to be destroyed, but New York City is also going to be destroyed. The Bible is multi-layered, very full of depth. One scripture can mean 4 different things, okay? Because there's nothing new under the sun. These things have happened before, okay? But this is the end. So this will be the final hoorah. All right? For God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast. and until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So, as I told you, Kamala is Artemis. This statue represents abortion. It represents Easter. It represents this demonic spirit who Kamala is a manifestation of. If you put Kamala in backwards, you get this. Borrowed from Malay, Alamak, which is Kamala backwards, probably a contraction of Allah, God, and Mak, mother. Mother, God. Mother of God. Goddess. You see, her name means goddess. Oh, look at that. And it means, oh my God. Yeah, you think? It's an expression of shock. Yeah, people are gonna be shocked. When they see her come into power and what she's gonna do, they're going to be shocked. Oh dear. Oh my God. Yes. Wow. This is what people will be saying. What happens when we put her last name in? Sarah. Harris backwards. So this is a synonym of Alpharets. Navel. Navel. So, Sarah, a synonymous name of Alpharets, a binary star. What's a binary star? A binary star is a system of two stars that are gravitationally bound to and in orbit around each other. Binary stars in the night sky that are seen as a single object to the naked eye are often resolved using a telescope as separate stars, in which they are called visual binaries. So, a binary star is two stars that are one star to the eye. Okay, so Apollo and Artemis, two stars. Stars are entities. They're bound together and they appear as one. So her last name so far means binary. Two spirits as one. Artemis and Apollo. Okay, so if we go back and look up Alpharets, the horse's navel referring to Pegasus. Remember Pegasus from Clash of the Titans, the winged horse? Well, where do you see this? So, visible as second magnitude, blue-white star making the head of the chained woman in the northern constellation of Andromeda. So it says that she is the star in the head of the chained woman. Who is the chained woman? Here's the Statue of Liberty and her feet. What do you see here? Chains. The chained woman. Artemis, Kamala Harris, Apollo. The chained woman in the constellation of Andromeda. So, let's look up Andromeda. Andromeda. Borrowed from ancient Greek, Andromeda means ruler of men. You guys, I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down, because you can't make this stuff up. Okay? Kamala's about to come into power and rule over men. Her name literally means a star, which is an entity, a fallen angel. Okay? Who is part of a binary system, Apollo and Artemis, who is a destroyer. Okay? A ruler of men. This is what her name means. This is unbelievable. All right? And then if we go down here, we see that Andromeda polifolia, this is a plant. Right here you can see this plant, and it has her coming out of it. So, let's look that up real quick. So, here's the two things that I found interesting. Here's Andromeda polifolia. So, this says that it is descended from the Latin polium, alternate form of polyon. Oh, you mean from the Greek like Apollyon, like we just read in the Bible, right? Apollyon. So here's more proof that Kamala is Apollo, Artemis, the same coin, two sides. Oh, and what do we have here in the Andromeda polifolia? In the family of, oh, what's this say? Vaccinoideae. Do you not find this interesting? See how it disappears? It always does that. They don't want me to show this to you. So Kamala, who means Artemis, who means Apollo, brings the sickness and the cure. Okay? And the cure. You see that? You guys, you can't make this stuff up. You want to see something? This gets even deeper. Watch this. If we go back to Andromeda, the ruler of men, and we scroll down here, not only does she represent the chained woman, but she's also the daughter of Cephas and Cassiopeia, the king and queen of Eritrea, rescued from her sacrifice to the sea monster Cetus by Perseus, who married her, mother of Perses, ancient king of Persia. All right, so you might recognize this story in Perseus, but in the movie Clash of the Titans, we know the sea monster by a different name. Let's look up Clash of the Titans. Here we have Clash of the Titans. So this is about, during the gods' battle against the Titans, Hades created the Kraken. Okay? Perseus is brought before King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia, who are celebrating their campaign against the gods, while their daughter Princess Andromeda disapproves of her parents' rebellion. Cassiopeia furthers her boast. The revelry is suddenly interrupted by Hades. He kills Cassiopeia by rapidly aging her and threatens to unleash the Kraken upon Argos in 10 days unless Andromeda is offered to it as a sacrifice. All right? So, Andromeda is going to be sacrificed to the Kraken. All right? So let's go back and see. The daughter, Andromeda, was rescued from her sacrifice to the sea monster, the Kraken, by Perseus. So, here we have Kamala being sacrificed by the Kraken. Well, if we are to look up the new strain of COVID, we will see the XBB.1.5, what you need to know about COVID-19's Kraken variant. How much proof do you need? I'm telling you, Kamala is Artemis, and she is making way for Apollo, Obama, to come onto the scene. Artemis, Kamala is going to be sacrificed to the Kraken. The whore of Babylon, Kamala, Artemis, is going to be sacrificed to the Kraken. Obama, Apollo, Leviathan. This is what is taking place, okay? Kamala is about to come into power and destroy. Here's another statue, and look at it, all right? It's coming out of an egg. This is Artemis. This is manifestation. Okay, whenever these things are about to manifest, they build these statues in honor of these gods and goddesses, as they call them. This is what's happening. Artemis is manifesting, the sudden death goddess, the goddess associated with Easter. That's why she's here, coming up out of an egg. This represents an egg. This represents the world. She's coming up out of the world egg. All right? And she is tentacles. She's a nymph. She is a hydra, which is another thing they've been pulling out of people's bodies from the medicine that comes in a syringe. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. This is a manifestation. Kamala Harris is about to come into power. This statue is only on display till June. This display was put up for the Easter holiday. People celebrating Easter are paying homage and worship to what you're looking at on the screen right now. Easter has nothing to do with Christ. If you are found worshiping this entity, you will be judged. This goddess is coming on the scene. The whore of Babylon, Kamala, is about to take power. And when she does, she will destroy this country. She will undo the Constitution. She will make America a laughingstock on the world stage, and our enemies will grow brazen and attack us because we have become a joke. Armies around the world are training children to fight, and our country is training men to dress up in women's clothes and read storybooks to little children. We are in trouble. The only way out of it is Christ. God's people will not be affected by the plagues and the things that are coming over this earth. God will protect us. But not if you're worshiping these pagan gods and goddesses. Take heed. Take this warning. Because Kamala is coming on the scene, and death, destruction, and persecution are going to be taking place to make way for the beast, Obama, to take his place on the world stage as the one world ruler, the Antichrist, and Satan will empower him to destroy and bring everybody under his thumb. Get prayed up and make sure that your spiritual house is built upon a rock, the rock of Christ. Take care. If you've come to the end of this video and you need to be saved, then I stress to you that there is no better time than right now. Do not wait. Okay? So if this is you, please join me in saying this prayer. Lord Jesus, I have been living in sin. I know now that I am a sinner and that I need a Savior. I believe that you are the Christ, and that you gave your life and precious blood, and was raised on the third day by God to wash away past sins of those who would believe in you and all that you do. I am a sinner in need of saving. Lord, please save me. I have not been holy, but I want to be. Please come into my life and teach me your ways, so that I may join you in the kingdom. Thank you. Amen.